Going on, people? Good morning. Welcome to United View and welcome to Flex's View. Just a quick little catch up with you guys, man. So much happened last night. Shout out to Owen. He was all over it yesterday. And I didn't get a chance to connect with you guys yesterday, man. In what was a big night because the bids came in. Sheikh Jassim, Sir Jim Ratcliffe, etc. And I needed to have my say. Let me know how you guys are feeling in the comments below. You've had a little while to marinate on this, like I have as well. And like this thumbnail says right there, man, now or never. It's now or never. This is it. This is it. The bids are in, and now it's in the Glazers' hands. And look, the way I look at it is, I think now we're at this stage and I can clearly see exactly, which we have been for a little while to be fair, but unequivocally, we can see what Sir Jim Ratcliffe's proposal is and we can clearly see what the Qatari bid is. My preference is the Qatari bid. I know you guys have pretty much known that, but like unanimously, we have to have that. We have to have that. You know, you look at Sir Jim Ratcliffe's bid and the way it's structured, yes, there's little technicalities in there. Sort of saying that, you know, even if the Glazers stay, which they would under Sir Jim Ratcliffe's model, he still wants controls. He still wants control at the football club, majority control, more so than the Glazers. So they wouldn't be able to stay basically with their B shares. The B shares are the ones that have way more voting rights and can actually have power over decisions. And Sir Jim Ratcliffe wouldn't want that. But it's not a full buyout. It's not a full takeover. You look at Sheikh Jassim's situation as well. And in his bid, the thing that stood out to me was in a significant and unprompted power play, Sheikh Jassim's offer of Man United pledged further funds of additional capital and a sum that would be spent on either redeveloping Old Trafford or building a new stadium, along with transforming Carrington. This is what we want to hear. This is what, and most importantly, not what we want to hear. This is what we want to see. This is what we want to see at Man United. And you look at Sir Jim Ratcliffe's one, like I said, if Joel and Avram Glazers stay at the club, they won't do so with Class B voting power. Yeah, that's great. They won't have Class B voting power, so they can't make all the decisions. But like I said with Owen on the other day, technically, you could argue that that's a little bit worse. Obviously, yeah, okay, they're not as involved in the club, but then they're going to get to reap the benefits of this club and still take. They're going to be able to get entitled to payouts and their dividends because they're going to be, you know, okay, minority stakeholders by then, minority shareholders by them. But what? Sir Jim Ratcliffe comes in with not as much money as the Qataris, who hasn't set out exactly what he wants to do in terms of all those things I mentioned about the Qataris. He spends his money. The team does okay. The team does well. Eric Ten Hag's going to make sure of that. I'm confident, you know, that we're going to be successful under this manager. And what? The Glazers just lurk in the background. The Glazers just lurk in the background and be able to take out of this football club when they've actually sold it, when they've actually become minority stakeholders. So that massively worries me. And look, I know that there's I always keep saying this. Why do I always go to say Sir Sheikh Jassim? I don't know why I do that. But we know that Sheikh Jassim's bid was not the £6 billion. Sounds a little bit like Harvard there. It was not the £6 billion that the Glazers wanted. It wasn't. But it's still a world record bid. It's just north of 5 billion. It's around the 5 billion mark. And is that enough? Is that enough? That's the question. That's what we've got to cross our fingers for. Is that enough to tempt the Glazers to sell? I mean, I can't call it. I honestly can't call it. It does feel very real now. But I can't call whether that's enough. It does. I don't know. I think the Glazers are so greedy. They're absolute vultures for money, aren't they? That's what they are. They're cash cows. They have been ever since. You know, from a business point of view, this has been unbelievable. I think they only put 200 odd million of their own money in and leveraged the rest in debt and put that debt onto Manchester United. Now, Ineos, they do need to get more money, but Sir Jim Ratcliffe has ensured that Ineos would soak up that debt and not Manchester United. But do you trust that? Do you trust that? Do you trust somebody else saying, oh, don't worry about that debt, I'll put it on my company and this, that? Or do you trust the guy who's saying, listen, I'm going to come in, I'm going to wipe it all. Forget it. I'm going to wipe it all. And not only am I going to wipe it all, I've also got another pot of cash over here to say, right, this is for the training ground, this is for Old Trafford, this is for transfers. I've got all that. And Glazers, here you go, tatty bye, see you later. You're gone. You're nothing to do with this club. You're not entitled to take any more than you've already taken over these 18 years or so. You're out, you're gone. Here's your money, which is, I tell you what, which is way more than you should be even getting. This is an astronomical amount from what you've made, you leeches. Here's the door, here's your money, bye-bye. And there in the Glazers, the prospect of them potentially keeping ties with Qatar in terms of for their other business ventures, that might really suit the Glazers as well. Think of it from this point of view, and this is more the pro-Qatari side. If you're the Glazers and you have a good working relationship and you do a deal as big as this for Manchester United with the Qataris, you're more likely to have a good business relationship with them after that. If you want to say, if the Glazers say, I don't know, we've got all these hotels in America, are you interested in this? Or we're interested in building this over in the Middle East, let's talk. It opens up other opportunities for them to make more money elsewhere away from our football club, which I'm not saying I want our new owners to continually be involved with the Glazers, but what they do away from owning Manchester United, as long as they do what they need to do for Manchester United, who cares what they do? Obviously, we don't want the Glazers to get anything, ever, because by the sale of Manchester United, they shouldn't need anything, and F them, to be honest. But at the end of the day, you can see what's best for the club. Also, Simon Stone says, it is understood large amounts of paperwork have had to be completed to get to the latest stage, leading all parties to believe the situation will be resolved before the transfer window opens at the end of the season. That's the next bit I want to come on to, because Erik ten Hag needs to know what he's working with. He needs to know what he's working with, and that is really difficult to plan ahead of a summer, and not know what you've got to use, not know what you've got to spend. I know we've heard lines of business as usual, and we're planning for the summer like this. And yeah, Erik ten Hag's professional enough and class enough to identify what he wants to identify, but it still doesn't change the fact that depending on what happens in this takeover is a direct implication on how much he has to spend in the summer. That is just a fact. So that's a worry, because we need to sort this, and we need to sort it quickly. Fabrizio Romano was saying Sheikh Jassim's proposal also includes a plan to invest further significant amount and additional capital and infrastructure investment into the club. So look, we know Sheikh Jassim has the best bid, and I think the moment, which actually now we've got to the latest round of bids, the last round of bids, we haven't exactly seen the stories about Sir Jim Ratcliffe basically allowing the Glazers to stay be fake. Sir Jim Ratcliffe is not trying to bid all out. He's not trying to acquire 100%. He's trying to acquire the majority. Sir Jim Ratcliffe's offer is more flexible than Sheikh Jassim's in terms of structures, but he still wants control. So it's more flexible in terms of structures, i.e., it isn't just coming in and saying, right, you lot out, clear your desk, I'm in here. It's, I know you love this club, and you still want to take a bit of dividends out, a little bit of money out. I'll help you do that. As long as you give me, the overall decision making, I'll still let you take some money out. Why on earth would we want that at our football club after what's happened? And why on earth would Sir Jim Ratcliffe want that to happen? If he's a Manchester United fan, like he says he is, if he's a Manchester United fan who wants the best for the club, how can he possibly allow a situation that will facilitate the Glazers to stay at the football club? I tell you why he would do that. Again, like I was saying with Owen, because I believe he does that because it suits him. It suits him. It's a way. He hasn't got enough money to say, right, boom, here's close to 6 billion like Sheikh Jassim. I'm wiping out all of you. I'm wiping out all of you. And in the process of doing that, once I've got this club, here's my separate pot of money to do absolutely everything. New training ground, new stadium or renovation, playing squad, women's squad, infrastructure around the area. That's five. That's five things. 5 things deep. Shout out to KG. 5 things deep, that is. So Sheikh Jassim, stop saying that. Sheikh Jassim can do all of that. Light work, boom, gone. Gone, easy. So that versus the guy who's coming with the British bid, the Manchester back in Manchester United bollocks, you know, the core in the Northwest and all of that stuff, trying to appeal more to the local fan, and the local fans are massive in this football club. They're the heartbeat of what the club stem from, the local fans. But let's not get it twisted. Manchester United is what it is because of the global fan base. That's what makes it a powerhouse. Every single club has a local fan base. In every single club. Macclesfield got that. Every single club has that. That's the foundations of a football club. Hugely important, but that's where you plant the seeds and something starts to blossom. Okay? But what truly makes a club a powerhouse, what truly makes the club the biggest in the world, the globe, is having that global support. So if he thinks, and this is my opinion, by the way, I don't know how you guys feel, let me know. This is my opinion. If Sir Jim Ratcliffe thinks he's going to gain more support on a bigger scale by trying to appease, local fans, I think he's got another thing coming. And then to the point where he's lost any little bit of trust he might have had with people who are, a bit skeptical about Middle East or worried about the perceptions around that, and actually some of the complications, from government. They've made the tests, basically the criteria that it takes to buy a football club here in the UK, more stringent. They've changed the criteria of that. There's some people that are worried would Sheikh Jassim and his bid of the 9-2 Foundation, etc. Would they pass those things? Now, my situation to that is, well, okay, Newcastle passed that, but that was before these new rules came into place. My thing is that, look, I look at when you start talking about government, I don't want to make this too political because that's not my style at all, but just as layman's terms, right? The government, the Qataris and people from the Middle East have so much to do with what happens in our economy in this country. And the government, when it suits them, already work with them, deal with that side of the world for many, many things, I'm not going to go into all of that and profess I know exactly everything, but you guys understand what I'm saying. So for the UK government to completely lock off that side of the world through trying to buy a football club, which would actually add to our economy as well. And I'm not saying it's 100% right or 100% wrong. I'm just saying it how I see it. That would be a massive move for UK government to basically blacklist Qatar. Think about it. Think how many businesses are owned and how many things are owned here, in not just in London, but in the UK, but specifically London, and that the government, are aware of and have a hand in. And it would be a massive, thing for them to sort of blacklist that side of the world. Now, I'm not saying that if the Qataris bid is successful, no problem, 1,000,000%, 100%, we would be fine. We'd pass. I don't know. I'm just giving you my opinion of how I perceive the situation to be. So, look, for me, it's got to be Qatar. It's got to be Qatar. You know how bad it's got. I don't even like the Sir Jim Ratcliffe bid. I don't think it's anywhere near what we need it to be. And the fact that the Glazers are lurking means technically the Glazers stay, but the decisions are being made by somebody else. Now, to me, that's just the same thing as them staying. It is. We've come so far to them completely coming out of the football club. If a deal gets struck where they can sell off a large portion of it or the majority of it, but can still lurk in the background, taking, it's slightly less worse because maybe, and this is me trying to give Sir Jim Ratcliffe a little bit of credit here in the interest of fairness and looking at both sides positively and negatively, which I've just done with Qatar with some of the negative reasons. And I've done some of the negative reasons on Sir Jim Ratcliffe. So I've got to do the positive side. You could argue, or people that support Sir Jim Ratcliffe could argue that him making the decisions versus the Glazers would be better. You could argue that. The bit where he says he's a Man United fan, the bit that says in his manifesto he wants the best for the club. Is he going to start doing one by one, go and borrow more money, on his Ineos company and fix the stadium or build a new one or put it on transfers or build a new training ground? Is that better than the Glazers staying here and making the decisions? Because we've seen the decisions that they've made and the interest of which they make those decisions. You could argue it's marginally better, but I would feel hella uncomfortable with the Glazers still in the background taking money from this football club. They don't deserve that. They should be nowhere near this football club. And again, Sir Jim Ratcliffe's promise, or not lack of promises, to wipe out debt, to make us completely debt free, and again go again really aggressively with the next phase of our redevelopment and our return to greatness. You know, I just don't get those vibes from Sir Jim Ratcliffe. So for me, it's the Qataris that I want to see win this bid. And hopefully we see that, but time will tell. This is a very nervy time now. This is it. We're in the end game territory. It's now or never. I've seen some stuff on social media regarding some protests. I think maybe on the 30th of April could be the biggest Glazers out protest ever. Look, essentially, what we do know is that the Glazers are going to decide. It's in the Glazers' hands now. But being extremely vocal and just reminding them one last time that we don't want you here can also be will also be massively powerful. So that's interesting. Smash a like on the video, subscribe to the channel if you're new. Let me know what you think about that. And just before I wrap up, it was very interesting this morning to see some quotes from Urian Timber. A little bit of transfer news. And Urian Timber, Mike Vawai, who's quite reliable, very reliable in terms of stuff to do with over there in Holland. But actually, this is a quote from Urian Timber, which I'll be stunned if this wasn't true. A transfer is getting closer. There is a lot of specific interest, and I have made agreements with Ajax. Last summer, they asked me to renew and stay for one more season. I did this out of love for the club. Well, that's interesting, isn't it? That's interesting, isn't it? I mean, Mike Vawai, like I said, very, very reputable journalist. Does really big stuff on Ajax and Dutch football in general, and works for the Telegraph out there, the Telegraph out there in Holland. But interesting. I mean, Urian Timber. Obviously, we're going to need a new centre back. Harry Maguire, you would think, is surely going to be out of here. And Urian Timbers, obviously, we wanted him first. We wanted him with Lissandro. And it's crazy how things work out, because Lissandro's been so good. Leach has been amazing this year. Arguably our player of the season, really. I mean, the injuries really hurt him. But I would argue he's our player of the season. I think he's been absolutely fantastic. He's been brilliant. To the point where we actually said, oh, so glad we got him instead of Timber. Maybe we could end up with the Ajax duo. I mean, think about it. Could you see Erik ten Hag going back in for Urian Timber? Absolutely. And what's more interesting is that he's saying a transfer is getting closer. So look, we could be way off the mark here. I'm not saying, oh my God, it's 100% us. We're definitely going to get Urian Timber. Wow. But he's been a target for us. He was a target last year. We couldn't get him. He signed a new deal, decided to stay. LVG got in his head and said, you ain't going to play in the World Cup if you go, etc., etc. Man United's a bad place. Erik ten Hag proved that to be wrong. Look at Terrell Malacia. And now he's saying he's getting closer to a transfer, and saying I only signed that deal last year out of love for the club. Maybe Edwin said to him, listen, they've taken Eric, they've taken Anthony, they've taken Leacher. Please just stay. Well, that by the time we was trying to negotiate for Urian Timber, obviously we hadn't got Leacher yet, and we hadn't got Anthony yet, to be fair. But the interest was there, isn't it? We know that. So he probably said, look, we're going to lose quite a few to them. Can you just stay one more year, sign a new deal so we can get big value for you? I can't even remember what the fee would have been last year. I think it was around the same as Leacher, isn't it? About 50 million, something like that. 50 plus add-on, something like that. Would it be more now? Now we signed that new long-term deal last year to get the value up. I don't know if he's even had a strong season. I know Ajax were struggling until they changed the manager up until recently. But now is very interesting to see what he does and where he goes. And he's basically spelled it out there. He's spelled it out. There is a lot of specific interest, and I have made agreements with Ajax. Last summer, they asked me to renew and stay for one more season. I did this out of love for the club. So that is a big turn up for the books. It really is. And Fabrizio Romano says, he also says, my transfer is getting closer. So again, it's from the Telegraph, so it's the same thing. So it is proper, you know, unbelievable. My transfer's getting closer. So he's going in the summer. Where is he going to go? Real Madrid, Liverpool, Chelsea. Arsenal need another centre-back. Not going to be Spurs. Who else could he go to? PSG? I don't know. Bayern? Who knows? Who knows? That is going to be interesting. And actually, you're going to see us linked with him even more so now. He also had a lot to say about Leacher as well. He says, I know how great it is to play alongside Lissandro. Though my performances don't depend on him only. Obviously, he's getting that in there saying, I'm not only good because I play next to him. I like that. We were amazing together, especially with communication. It doesn't surprise me that he played so good for Manchester United before his injury. And obviously, he's a good friend. But yeah, the big line, and I'll repeat it once more, a transfer is getting closer, Urin Timber says. There is a lot of specific interest, and I have made agreements with Ajax, i.e., you better accept whatever comes in of where I want to go and honour what I did last year for the club in signing a new deal. Last year, they asked me to renew a contract and stay for one more season. I did this out of love for the club. So, jeez. Very, very interesting stuff there. We'll be all over this, of course. We'll bring you updates as and when we get them. We'll let you know what's going on later on today. Obviously, it's match day tomorrow, so you'll get a preview from myself as well. And fingers crossed we get some news. These next couple of days are going to be nerve-wracking, and hopefully we get the news that we want, and that is the Glazers completely out of our football club. Just take a hint, guys. Take a hint, Glazers. If you're watching this, which you're definitely not, but just take a hint. Get out of our club. It's as simple as that. Just leave. Take the money and run. You're getting offered an absolute fortune from what you put into it, and you still want to try and hang on and stay in this football club. Just get out. Just get out. Take care, guys. I'll see you very, very soon. Peace.